we're going to go into one of the most, I guess, widely used flies, one of the greatest flies of all time, which is the Clouser Minnow. I think this is a great example of how the synthetic bucktail, the faux bucktail, can be used versus the natural bucktail, especially when you're fishing false albacore, or more specifically bluefish. If bluefish are around and they're tearing up flies, I think this would be a better alternative material to that, being the fact that it seems to be very strong and tough. Of course, we're going to do the standard Clouser style, and I'd like to do a little bump of thread and then come in with a little bit of Zap-A-Gap or Loctite glue. Any type of glue like that will work, and then you're going to put your eyes on, figure 8, crisscross wraps here, and going to bring it together underneath. That way it's straight all the way around. Then you're going to give you a little thread base up front. So again, so we're going to use this white bucktail, synthetic bucktail. It looks just like the real thing. Sorry. So you can do these sparse, or you can tie them full, however you want. I've already pre-tapered this just by pulling the tips. And you could also decide on how long you want for this fly to be, or type of bait fish you might be imitating. So that's about the length that I want. So we'll come here and cut this. So I would recommend putting a little bit of a base of Loctite. That'll kind of help get rid of that tendency of this material wanting to slide on your thread wraps. The other thing that'll help too is spinning your thread. Okay, once you do that, that's going to give it a lot more of a more gripping power right there, because you're giving it a lot more ridge to it instead of having it flat. So once you have that tied down, then you can kind of pull down. What you'll notice is this this material does not flare like bucktail will. So, but once you have it tied in up front, you can just come underneath and start coming back behind. Fold this down, make your first wrap right there. Make 2 wraps right over top of each other. And then I like to do a couple wraps back, spiral, and then one over top of each other, and then spiral right back forward, and then come back in front. So there's your tail part. You can make this shorter, longer. You can have it tapered if you want more. Depends on the type of bait that you're wanting to imitate. And at this point, a lot of times I like to add a little fill right here, a little bit more white, and then we'll add some flash to this. And I'm going to take a little bit of white, not much, a little bit of white, make us a little bit longer than the tail, the underside. Trim that again to help eliminate some of that tendency for this, being that this stuff is slicker than regular bucktail. So adding a little glue helps weld it to the hook and kind of makes it behave a little better. Then I'll take my thumb and kind of flatten it out and have it roll around the hook a little bit. And then I'm going to take these fibers and kind of evenly distribute them around the point of that hook, and then have it come back. And as you see, we're starting to form that traditional Clouser. Start getting that thread taper, and use a heavier thread and lock that down. And then of course you're going to add some flash here. I just happened to grab what was handy. This is head-drawn prismatic Flashaboo silver. You can obviously add as much flash or as little as you want, depending on the type of fishery that you're fishing. So again, what I like to do with my flash is I like to taper it, and I also like to come forward here and wrap the flash around the thread to kind of help keep it from getting pulled out. And you'll notice here, once you do that, you'll have a really nice taper into the fly here. The one thing I don't like about having just straight ends is it just doesn't look as clean. You know, all the flash kind of gets pulled towards the tail. It looks okay if you like it that way, but I kind of like having different variegated sections going through. I think it kind of adds to the fly a little bit. So now we got the flash part in, and again, if you wanted, you could put a throat under there if you'd like. So we're going to do the classic chartreuse and white, which is probably one of the best flies that's ever been made. Chartreuse and white Clousers. And you could do this same fly with my good friend Bob Popovic's and mentor. You could do his jiggy flies. Same deal. Just take this bucktail, faux bucktail, and taper it, just like so. Make this a little shorter on top. Again, I'm going to add this glue this Loctite glue, which really aids in having this material behave, because it is quite a bit slicker than your average bucktail. And make sure that these tips are even. That'll help with that and keeps it from slipping. And I'll spin my thread again to kind of give it a little more gripping power. And once you have that going, pull it down tight. It's not going to flare like bucktail, but it does help it grip, and it helps it kind of get it to where you want it. Just like so. And now I can just come forward and create that nice taper that you get with the nose of a Clouser. And we're going to take a whip finish here, whip finish it off, just hand do it. Alright, once I get that tied in. Now what I like to do with these is you're going to come back with a UV or blue light glue. Come underneath. It'll kind of lock everything in under there. Something you can also do too is you can kind of crimp this stuff up, kind of give it a little more lift before you, if you want. Watch what happens here when you hit it with a light. Again, you can train the hairs to have a little more lift if you want more lift to it, or if you want more of a flatter, you can flatten it. Just, you know, using these glues to kind of help manipulate the material. It's pretty important. It's just a real advantage we didn't have years ago. So this would be the faux bucktail Clouser. Okay, we just dumped this fly in the sink to get it wet, you know. And you can see how nicely formed that taper is on this fly right here. I mean, it's got that perfect bay anchovy silhouette, or silver side actually. It's got that really nice hump in the middle. The interesting thing I just noticed, it gets a real translucency in the water. So that's another advantage that this material has over bucktail. It doesn't have the translucency this has. Again, if you're having problems with your thread coming off of the fibers as you're tying a standard Clouser, remember, just have some Loctite handy. Put it on the base. It'll, Loctite and plastic weld pretty much. So it's going to grab that and it's going to hold it in place. Spin your thread to give it a little more gripping power. See how quickly that dried. So again, you take it right out of the water, you got the flies dried immediately. But that's the one of the greatest flies ever designed for fly fishing.